Lack of commas or just misunderstanding? I'm wondering if this is correctly spelled or is there something wrong with the phrase itself. Patient will be placed on 4 steroids with compression stockings for lymphedema should physical therapy be cleared by cardiology for manipulation of that region. Documentation of spinal fluid will be obtained under fluoroscopy. Her glucose and blood pressures must be carefully monitored. The question they ask me is, how will lymphedema be controlled should physical therapy be undertaken? Are they missing some commas or it's just me not being able to read this correctly? Asking this because, from what I understand, the lymphedema will be controlled for steroids with compression stockings. But, how about the compression stockings for lymphedema should physical therapy be cleared by cardiology for manipulation of that region? I'm really confused.
Here is what I would say, although it's a bit more verbose and doctors do like to keep things to a minimum, the bullet point illustrate that some facts are unrelated. Patient is to be placed on 4 steroids. Assuming the patient is cleared for physical therapy by cardiology, compression stockings will be needed for lymphedema. Documentation of spinal fluid will be obtained under fluoroscopy. Her glucose and blood pressures must be carefully monitored.
I'm not a medical professional and I don't know what that sentence actually means, but just based on the grammar I think that it's probably correct the way it's written. In which case it would be you not being able to read this correctly, but it's definitely a confusing phrasing. You might rewrite that first sentence like this. Should physical therapy be cleared by cardiology for manipulation of that region, the patient will be placed on 4 steroids with compression stockings for lymphedema. Or, more radically, if cardiology clears physical therapy for the manipulation of that region, the patient will be placed on 4 steroids with compression stockings for lymphedema. After reading over the accepted answer, I see a second possible meaning, but if this second meaning is the intended one, then I would say that they are missing commas, rather than you reading it incorrectly. Here's a rewriting consistent with that second meaning. Patient will be placed on 4 steroids, and also given compression stockings for lymphedema if cardiology clears physical therapy for manipulation of that region.
The op contains a lot of medical jargon which, obviously, is directed to healthcare professionals. Let's try to make it clearer, so you can understand it. Patient will receive intravenous steroids. If a cardiologist sees the patient and she is cleared for manipulation of her lower limbs, compression stockings must be worn to alleviate lymphedema. Spinal fluid will be obtained for analysis under X-ray guidance. Blood glucose levels and blood pressure must be carefully monitored. Or, if you want to keep the same structure, I've added some commas and substituted a few words. Patient will be placed on intravenous steroids. Compression stockings to alleviate lymphedema if physical therapy is cleared by cardiology for manipulation of that region, lower limbs. Documentation of spinal fluid will be obtained under fluoroscopy. Her glucose and blood pressure must be carefully monitored.
From the point of view of English, the first part of this is ambiguous. It could mean that the patient will be on 4 steroids in any case, and only if cleared by cardiology will she also have compression stockings for lymphedema. Alternatively, it could be that both the 4 steroids and the compression stockings are intended for lymphedema and are contingent on being cleared by cardiology. From the point of view of medicine, I think the first reading is more likely, because 4 steroids are more likely to cause lymphedema than to alleviate it. Actually, now that I think about it some more, there's a third reading, in which only the compression stockings, not the 4 steroids, are for lymphedema, but both are contingent on cardiology clearance. Maybe we need a new Stack Exchange site for medical language and usage.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.